Alright, so hopefully you've managed to do all of the cards and you've got all the that done. I'll go back to the top here, to the backdrop. Now, a couple of things we need to do. Down here you put in broadcast set cards, but for what's coming up we need to set the pointer to 1, and also what we should do is set the counter to 0 before we go in there, and you'll see why we need to do that. So the pointer is going to be used to do some comparing, and the count's going to keep track of how many matches you get, and then the game will finish once you get the right number of matches. Alright, and maybe later if we get a chance we'll do some other stuff, but right now what will happen is we go to the set cards, and when we come over here to the set cards we have this happening, and that was not needed. So that can go. Right, that's better. So, like I say, there's a couple of ways you can do this. We're going to do it this way. So there we come to set cards, and we're ready to go with those. And we're going to come back here later to see how we're going as well. Alright, so when you hit the, I'll switch this off in a minute. So 13, cat, and 10, number 3 is 10. So there's our cats, 15 is our fish, and 9 is our fish. So they're working, randomising. 11, 1, 9, etc, etc. So our fish is 1 and 4. So it is resetting as we go. Alright, that's fine. Now what we need to do is to say, okay, well that's great. Now we've actually done something. We better do some comparing. Now, how we do the comparing is this. We're going to use pointer, as I said, and we need an if statement to start with every time we click on the sprite. What we're going to check to see is either it's like that, and then it'll turn over like that. Okay, we can check that. But what will happen is that once they match, there will be we're going to use a third card that looks exactly like face that I'm going to call match. Alright, and in there I'll just get something like blue maybe, and just type match across it, and we'll switch to that and do some stuff a little bit later on. Okay, so I'll just put like that. Alright, and while we're here we can get a bit clever and just drag that one onto the top of the other cat, and that way we've got ourselves that, and so forth. You can in fact take that there later when you're doing your stuff and duplicating, and just copy that and paste it on top of each one of the fish. So if you duplicate the fish, so for example if I duplicate that fish and call it match, M-A-T-C-H, I'll just check to see if I actually copied it. Let's go back. Alright, click, Control C, fish, Control V, there it is. So you can work your way systematically through all these at some stage. Call it match, and go that, and that's now becomes your match one. Alright, so when things start off, they start off like this, and then they're going to flick over. So let's go back to cat and let's start working on this. Alright, so first things first, we need to check our pointer, and our pointer is going to be 1, 2 or 3. Alright, so the pointer is going to be 1 or 2 or 3. If it's 1 or 2, then we are actually checking what card are we on. Have we turned the first one over or the second one over? And now that we've done that, do they match? So your pointer value could be 1 with the cat and 2 with something else. Alright, so we set the pointer to 1 to start with. Then what we do is we check to see where we actually are with the costume itself. So if the costume equals 2, then we're still flipping at that stage. If it's something like if it's match, this won't happen, okay, because it's actually costume number 3. So it will switch to face, which is what you want. Alright, and we'll put a weight in there for maybe the second one, otherwise it might flip a bit quick. you might be able to pull that out. We'll see how it goes when it's actually doing stuff. Now, this is the bit that gets us doing our comparing. What you need to do is we're going to use temp for this, so the temp is empty. We've deleted everything in the temp. And so what we do is we put something that's meaningful into there. And because we're working on the cat, we're going to just maybe put the word cat and we're in item 1. And so, but we need to be sure it could be the second one of temp. So there'll be these 2 values that are going to be put into the temp folder, in temp list, I beg your pardon, and if they match, then we're in business. If they don't, then we just flip them over and keep going. So the next bit, what we do is we've got to implement the pointer. We've done one, so now we've got to implement the pointer. Now, when we get to this stage, get rid of that, this is the bit where we say, well, all right, we've done all that. Now what we need to do is, even though we may be item 1 or item 2, if they equal each other, so if the item, where are we here? If the item 1 of temp matches or equals the item 2 of temp, right, then we've got a match. So what we then do is we stick a broadcast in, and we'll put it over here just so that it's a bit more meaningful. So in here we're going to put broadcast, a new message, and we'll call this one cat match. Right, so broadcast cat match, and then if not, then what we have to do is check, first of all, because remember we're going to check to see if the game is over, or if we've gone beyond 1 and 2. So that means we've gone to 3, so we're off, we're beyond the 2, and we haven't got a match, so we've got to reset everything and keep going. Okay, so that's why we just go up 1 more. So if pointer is equal to, if the pointer is equal to 3, right, then what we're going to do is we'll do another broadcast, and this one we'll call reset. So broadcast, and we'll call this one reset, like so. Put that in, and then we'll have our 2 broadcasts over here and see what we've got with that. All right, so I'll just make this a bit tidier there. First one, when I receive the cat match. So when we get the cat match, what we want to do is we need to first of all empty out the 2 temp values. So we'll delete everything that's in temp because we've got a match. So we want to push new card values into the temp file, and then we're going to switch our costume to match. Okay, but what we wanted to do is we don't want to sit there and tap on it accidentally and cause a bit of grief and move the thing around. So we do something slightly clever here. We hide it and then we stamp it. All right, and that gives us, we then have our match sitting there as a stamp, not as a sprite. Then we go and set our pointer back to 1 because we've got a match, and we're going to change the value of the count. Now we can do it by 1, change the count by 1, and then we broadcast game over. And what we're checking to see is we're doing a game over, so broadcast game over, like so, and that's just checking to see if the game is finished. So you've got your last pair of matches, and we're going over to game over. Now game over is going to be back over here. All right, now while I think about it, we've just got a little bit of stuff to do here as well. So we need to clear here, and the other thing we need to do is we need to indicate the fact that the game is over. So the really quick way to do that is just to have a second backdrop and put in here something like game over, say, somewhere sitting there. You can do whatever you want, stuff here. So that's number 2, and then so that what that means is back over here we will switch to backdrop number 1 when we start, and then when we do our game over, which is when I receive game over down here, what I want to do is I'm just going to do a really quick check. So if the counter is equal to 16, then we just switch to the other backdrop. Switch to backdrop number 2. Okay, and we can probably just stop all then as well. Stop everything. So that's over there, and that game over is going to come from all of these. Every one of the cards will go and check to see where am I at here with this count. Now the other thing is reset. So when I reset, when I receive reset, so reset, and when I get to reset, it's the same story again. You've got to delete temp. So you delete everything out of temp, get rid of temp, empty it out, and then just switch your costume to back or whatever. So you switch your costume to back, so the rocket ship, and then you just reset your pointer as well. So set the pointer to 1, and you've got all the scripts that you're going to need. Now, of course, the next big job is that all this stuff has to be put into all of them. So I'll do the other cat. I'll just clean this up a bit. Probably should clean this one up a bit as well. I'll just pull those back down there. Okay, so I've cleaned up 1 and 2, and what I need to do is drag this onto the top of the cat. It doesn't have to change because it's cat, and this is cat match. There'll be fish match, fish, crab match, crab, etc., etc., etc. The rest stays as is. So cat and that one, and go back here and check. And when I receive reset, and when I receive cat, all right, and on it goes. And so you've got a fair bit of duplicating to do, or dragging and dropping to get the rest of that happening. And when we come back to the next bit, they'll all be done, and we'll be moving on. Just a wrap up